Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. I'm here in London. I'm going to be speaking in London for the next 3 days. If you want to learn more, you can go to drboycelondon.com. That's drboycelondon.com. Take 1 second real quick. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the share button. Make sure you tell everybody that the revolution is being televised. And it's being televised right here. Excuse me. Black people are taking over, just like my shirt, Black Gentrification, says that basically we are gentrifying our own communities, both digitally, physically, economically, all of that. You know, we are the kings and queens, and we are the originators of all things great. That is my belief. Now, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about something I was asked about the other day. And I like talking about this kind of thing because I do have a qualified opinion. My whole life I've been a hip-hop head. I've listened to hip-hop since I was little. I analyze the lyrics of artists. I know a lot of rappers. And I literally pay very close attention to music that comes out in terms of understanding it. You know, I've been on the Breakfast Club, I think 3, 4, 5 times. I don't remember how many times, but when you go on shows like that, you got to know what's going on in the world. You can't just be sort of a professor in an ivory tower. That's never been the guy I wanted to be. I've always been a human being first, and then a black man, and then a scholar and all that, right? So let me kind of break down an assessment of things, so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. I'm not here trying to make anybody mad, because I'm sure I will, but I got to tell the truth, you know. So I was thinking about the rapper Eminem, right? Eminem had this recent verse on Donald Trump that, you know, I appreciate, right? I really appreciate what he said. I think M is courageous. You know, I think M is extremely talented. I mean, really talented. I think he's a person that you always respect because he's honest. I love that. And he's fearless, man. I mean, the brother is fearless, and I call him a brother because I like Eminem. You know, I feel like Eminem really relates to black people. I feel like Eminem, he's not like Iggy Azalea. You know, Iggy Azalea, I feel like was disrespectful to hip hop. I feel like Iggy Azalea came into the game and thought that she could be, you know, the most important rapper in history in 35 seconds. And that to me is disrespectful, because Iggy didn't understand the history of hip hop. In my opinion, she didn't understand there were certain iconic people that you can't just come in disrespecting those people, etc. So Eminem's not Iggy Azalea. He's not Vanilla Ice. He is a really truly talented rapper who is by no fault of his own. Also, though, highly, highly, highly overrated. Now here, let me explain why. Look. Eminem's not overrated because he's untalented. He's very talented. There's no question about it. But if Eminem were black, if Eminem were a brother, he wouldn't be one in a million. He wouldn't be sort of this rare 1 in a million commodity. He would be 1 in a million in the sense that they'd say, "Oh, he's no big deal," right? I hope that makes sense. Like, people see him as 1 in a million, like, "Oh my God, he's so amazing, he's so great. Oh my God, my head's gonna explode. It's so amazing." But the truth is that if he were a brother, it'd be like another great black basketball player. You know, it'd be like if Larry Bird were black. Like Isaiah Thomas said a long time ago, Larry Bird was a great player. He was extraordinary. And Larry Bird would have been in the Hall of Fame if he were black. But the idea that Larry Bird was considered to be one of arguably the greatest player of all time, or right there in the top 2 or 3, was maybe a little bit of a stretch. And let me explain how a lot of this breaks down. Here's the thing. It's not Eminem's fault that he's overrated. It's not like he's out here trying to be overrated. It's not like he's out here trying to disrespect the game. It's that the game is just disrespectful to the truth. You know, let's start with the fact that, you know, creatively, for example, when Eminem came into the music industry, a lot of black rappers didn't get the same creative expression or freedom of expression that Eminem gets. Eminem is a guy who I love because he can rap about anything. He's a human being. He expresses the essence of what an artist does, meaning that he'll talk about everything from "I really want to kill my baby mama" to I used some drugs yesterday, to "I want to kill myself," to "fuck you, I hate you," to "I was feeling sad yesterday." He gets to explain the range of humanity, you know, in his music. A lot of black artists, I've noticed over time, it seems, either they were confined by the record label or they confine themselves to very specific programmatic messages. I hate black women. I want to kill black people. I want to get high every day. I'm going to take my money and blow it at the club, whatever. And I went to prison and I'm proud of it because black people need to be in prison. I want to promote mass incarceration and genocide among my people because I'm just a coon ass nigga and I want everybody to die. I want all black people dead because some guy's paying me money to say that. This guy's Jewish who's paying me. He would never say that about his own people, but shit, he'll pay me to be the biggest coon on this earth. That's the big problem with a lot of hip hop. Not all hip hop, but you got some coons out here, some guys that really are hell bent on destroying black people, and those are the people that you should actually hate. I don't hate Eminem. I want to make that really 100% crystal clear. Not only do I not hate him, I love Eminem. And also, not only do I love Eminem's music, but I don't blame him for the fact that he's overrated. A lot of the reason he's overrated is because the whole system within which he operates as an artist is a system that overrates white people. Just like the way Larry Bird didn't ask to be separated from black players or to be elevated as the king of all basketball. White people did that. The market did that. The corporations did that. The teams, the marketing of the NBA did that. Excuse me. When they saw him against Magic, they said, my God, if we market the white guy against the black guy, we can take advantage of pre-existing racial animosity that exists in this country so we can go make a fucking dollar. That's pretty much what happened with Bird. Bird didn't ask for all that. Eminem didn't ask to be made into a hip-hop version of Elvis Presley, but that's what he is. Elvis is like Elvis. Elvis was not a bad artist, but Elvis wasn't the greatest of all time. And the same thing is true with Eminem. I think Eminem, if you listen to his lyrics, which I listen to pretty carefully, you could tell this man spends a lot of time writing. He spends a lot of time thinking through his lyrical content, all these things. But I know a lot of black dudes who do the same thing. When I saw Eminem do his freestyle on Trump, everybody's like, oh Lord, oh my God, he just blew hip hop out of the water. Oh Lord, what we gonna do? I'm about to have a baby. Oh, what the fuck? Seriously? There's a lot of guys out here that are writing, and women too, who are writing great verses. That diss Donald Trump, that talk about what's going on in the world. And I'm gonna tell you like this, just straight up point blank period. I just believe this. I swear to God. If Eminem were black and spit out that same verse, it wouldn't even have made a single headline. It would have been, another nigga who hates Donald Trump. Whoop-de-damn-do. But the political implication is that Eminem is a white guy. And he did this on a black network. And even black people tend to really, because our self-esteem is so low, we tend to really celebrate when white people take up our cause. White people, you believe, deep down black folks, you believe white people are like your parents. And remember when you were a kid, and let's say you went to school and you got mad at your teacher because your teacher was mistreating you, but you knew you couldn't say nothing because you were a kid. But then your mama came in and told the teacher off. That would embolden you. That'd be like, yeah, that's right, Mrs. Smith. You can't be treating me like that. My mama said you can't. That's what black people do when it comes to white people. We'll have legitimate concerns about how the country's run, concerns about a specific issue, or people, black folks, smart, intelligent black people have been talking about police shootings for 40 years, but it wasn't until white people, George Soros funded Black Lives Matter, which is really a gay front group. It's a front group to push the gay agenda in the black community. Let's just be clear about that. It's not a black movement. It's not a bad movement, and I think that actually black people should stop just flat out rejecting all gay people just because they're gay. I think that makes you vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. But basically that's what it was. It was basically them saying, because you notice, you go to the Black Lives Matter website, there's no mention of fathers and manhood. There's a mention of homosexuality, women, just very liberal, textbook liberal issues. So long story short, it wasn't until Black Lives Matter gave you permission to talk about and to be outraged about your the murders of your sons that you began to actually talk about it. If they had never come out, you wouldn't be talking about it. The killings of black men would be like, oh, well, it is. I mean, that's the way it is being a nigga. Niggas gonna die. It's all right. But when white people legitimized it, you felt more comfortable talking about it. Well, Eminem, same thing. Eminem legitimized hip hop's outrage over Trump. you'll start maybe probably seeing other rappers dissing Trump now, and then you'll see you see people just literally brains exploding because they feel like Eminem dropped the greatest verse of all time and he ethered Donald Trump. I went to watch it. I swear to God, I swear, and this is me being as honest as I know how to be. I saw the video. I said, oh shoot, Eminem went off on Trump because again I respect him. He's a good artist. I went in. I'm watching. I'm like, damn, he's freestyling. It looks like he can't even think about what he want to say. He's literally doing things to fill the space because he can't think of, he don't know what to say next. His brain has frozen. Like, is he nervous? Is he just having a bad day? Like, he literally watch the verse, watch it carefully. A lot of what he's doing in the beginning is he's stalling for time. He's like, bah. And then he's like, and then he comes back. But I'm sorry, like I've seen guys, really good battle rappers like B. Dot the God or Loaded Lux and what's the other brother? Murder Mook. You know, like these. You know, I know these guys, and I've seen them battle rap. I've seen them freestyle, and I don't really see them do that like that. Again, I'm not saying that they don't have their off days. Everybody does, but I just, you can just tell when somebody don't know what to say. It's like when somebody's giving a speech and they just have a brain freeze and can't think about what they want to say next. I felt like Eminem's freestyle was highly mediocre. I don't know how it became a headline. But here's the thing. Here's the reason why you can't blame Eminem for the fact that he's overrated. Eminem, I bet you, if you really ask Eminem if he thinks white people overrate him because of racism, he'd probably say yes. He's that kind of a guy. Because I think you can see a guy's personality by his music. You can also see his personality by how he plays sports. I've always been big into hip hop and sports, like every other black man on this planet. I just do other shit too. Some of y'all just get left behind because all you think about is hip hop or all you think about is sports. No, after I watch a little bit of sports, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna go start my business so I can get this white man's foot off my neck. That's what you got to do. I'm gonna go read some books so I can have something in my brain. So black men being into hip hop and sports, it just happens. It's real. You know, we got to respect it and accept it. But at the same time, what you got to do is understand that those sports teams don't belong to you. Those record labels don't belong to you. So if you are a hip hop head, you got to ask yourself, why am I a hip hop head? How am I making money for my family by being a hip hop head? How am I making money for my family by watching Sports Center every day for 5 hours? Like, no, you're making money for ESPN, who don't even like your black ass. I mean, they just dropped, they just reminded Jamel, what's her face? They just reminded her that she ain't nothing but a nigga. You a hired nigga to come on our network and do what we tell you. And if you keep fucking up, we're going to fire your black ass because this ain't your house. Stephen A. Smith, they bitch slapped him on TV and made him into a little boy. That's why you won't see me working at ESPN. Don't want to work at ESPN. I'd rather have some tiny shit that's mine than to be on some gigantic shit that belongs to somebody else. Because if you look throughout history, you'll see the people who started with the tiny shit were the ones who eventually became, who owned the big shit, who became the moguls of history. That's where these big corporations come from. Somebody who owns some tiny shit and turn it into big shit. But if you always trying to get on somebody else's bandwagon, then you'll never be a leader because all you know how to do is be a follower because you can't build a car if you're getting on a bandwagon. You just learn how to ride in other people's cars and you won't be in the front. You won't be the driver because they already got their driver. They already decided the design of the vehicle. They already chose the direction of the vehicle. All you know how to do is get on it and ride. So too many of our people ain't nothing but followers. That's why you're going to lose the game because you're nothing but a follower and you learn how to be a leader, period. But let me get back to Eminem a little bit. Okay. So with Eminem, let me just break it down and summarize it real quick. The reason Eminem is overrated is because a lot of whether or not a rapper is considered to be the greatest of all time, how he's ranked, is done by media exposure, also by album sales. The people that buy the most hip hop tend to be white people. White people, like anybody else should be, they love their own. They're like, yeah, you know, hip hop is awesome when it comes out of the mouth of a black man, but shit, when you can get Negro quality verses coming out of a white man, well, that's even better. Why shouldn't they feel that way? You know, y'all did the same thing. When y'all had Bill Clinton as the first black president, everybody was celebrating that. But then when you got a man who was a little bit more black, biracial, you say, well, shit, this is better than the substitute. He looks more like me, and he walks like me. And Obama had it down. Obama had the whole Negro swag down. I watched him closely. He would change his language and his demeanor when he was around black people versus when he was around everybody else. Go watch the video. I'm not hating Obama, but it's true. Now later on, when a super real black president gets elected in about 100 years, they're gonna say, well, Obama was great, but look at what we got now. We got a real brother or real sister in the White House. That's what's gonna happen. That's the evolution. So Eminem is he is the authentic compared to the cheap substitute. The cheap substitute for white folks was like, okay, well, shit. I mean, since black people own this hip hop thing, we'll just love their rappers, but we really want our own. They wanted a white-owned rapper, just like you like supporting a black-owned business, if you got any sense. Now, some of y'all actually appreciate something more if it's white, but that's your self-esteem issue. So I think that, excuse me, I think that white folks love Eminem naturally. They're going to buy his records, which is going to propel his album sales to a level that will go higher than if you were black. So that makes people at Billboard and other publications say, "Oh, well, look at how much he's selling. So he must be the greatest. He's selling them. That's the measuring stick. He sold more than everybody else." Then you got to remember a lot of the publications that decide who the best rappers are owned by white people. These are not black. They might have black writers and black staff members, but a lot of these media outlets are owned by white people and Jewish people. Why? Well, because number one, they have the capital and the access, so it ain't totally your fault. But then two, most black people aren't really thinking in terms of ownership. Black people don't want to, not all of us, but some of us don't want to do the hard work of creating something small and making something big. We'd rather latch ourselves on to something that's already big. Whereas the creators, the people that can build a nation, are the ones who create something small and say, my challenge is to turn this into something big. So ultimately, with Eminem, you got basically the two factors that are going to be used most of the time to determine who the greatest of all time is going to be number of albums you sell and media coverage, how much the media covers you, what they say about you, all these things. At that point, everything else is kind of arbitrary. And so I'm not saying Eminem ain't the great. I think Eminem gets mad respect from all the greatest rappers of all time. I bet you Jay-Z thinks his music is solid. T.I., all these guys, even Pac. I bet you Tupac would say, okay, I like that dude. He's awesome. He's dope. But I don't think that they would say, okay, he's better than all of us. I don't think most people who really are into hip hop, who really get it, are gonna flip out over that Trump verse. And also remember this: your political bias plays a part too. If he said, let's say he'd done the same rap and it was pro-Trump instead of anti-Trump. Instead of calling him the most brilliant thing ever, you'd call him the biggest idiot ever. But pro-Trump supporters would say, "Oh, we love that verse. We love Eminem." So that's where political divisions cause people to be incredibly biased. You could say something that's why I get in trouble all the time, because I don't get on bandwagons very easily. I'm determined to be an intellectual leader. I'm not determined. I can't follow whatever the trend is. What I do is I'll pay attention to the trends, though. Maybe paying attention to the trends will help make a message more relatable, more relevant to whatever people are thinking about. But at the end of the day, if when I come to a conclusion, it's going to be my conclusion. It's not going to be some shit somebody told me in Billboard magazine, and if you look at and you break these things down deeply, you can see through all of that mirage. This whole idea that BET, for example, because he's on BET, he connects and relates to black people. No, BET is not a black network. BET is owned by white people. What they do is they position black people in front of you to make you feel endeared to that network, so they can sell you the new Ford Taurus instead of getting you to invest that money for your children. BET networks like that rarely, maybe in 40 years, when I'm getting, people like me are getting lifetime achievement awards, but as of right now, networks like BET don't want. They wouldn't really want to sort of expose people who think the way I do, because the problem is that critical analysis does not work in their favor. Critical analysis means you're going to say, well, wait a minute, am I really supporting my community by watching BET? Well, wait a minute, they have black faces, so it looks black, and they have my favorite black shows. But those profits are not going to black people, number one, and number two, they're building the audience so they can sell company products made by white people to you. They'll never sell products from WeBuyBlack.com that I know of, because that's not really something that they do. So ultimately, what I would say to you is that you got to know the difference between truly black-owned media and just white media with a black face. Find out who the owners are, who are the shareholders. The Root.com, not black-owned. Root.com was bought by Univision because they said we captured the minds of millions of African Americans. Now we get to control the narrative. The Latino community is doing something that's very similar to what the Jews did. The Jews did not want people distorting their image. They wanted to create an image. It really is called propaganda. They wanted to create an image of themselves to the world that would allow them to, number one, to own the term Holocaust. Most of y'all don't even know anything about the African Holocaust and how it was 100 times worse than the Jewish Holocaust. But you think that the Jewish Holocaust was worse because the Jews controlled the media and they shaped it in a certain way. They shaped the narrative. Same thing in the public school system. The way you're taught in the public school system brings you away from what you've actually gone through as a black person. So the ability to control media and the educational system is incredibly important in terms of shaping how people think. A lot of black people really do have Stockholm syndrome. We're really lost. We're disconnected. We don't know who we are. Those are the black people that are the hardest to even persuade, to even begin to think that what we're talking about even makes any damn sense, because it's in such contrast to what they've been taught about white people being superior. So this white superiority thing plays itself out in a couple of ways with Eminem. One, white people are going to automatically push him to the front of the line with higher record sales and better media coverage because he's white. And then number two, black people will celebrate him because deep down you feel like you're inferior because you're a lost tribe. You're a nobody in your own mind. So when a white person validates you and somehow connects to an issue or a culture that you're a part of, you somehow feel that makes that culture more relevant. Go watch Facebook and look at how certain black people will really celebrate if a black person gets a deal with ABC, or if they get some sort of award. So they've created, made up award that was created by white people to give themselves more power. Like the Oscars. I read the history of where the Oscars and the Academy Awards came from. The Oscars is some made up shit. It was made up by Jewish film industry executives. Again, props to them. They created Hollywood. Literally, the book I told you guys about this. The book I'm reading is called How the Jews Invented Hollywood. They invented this shit. They made all this up, but you think it's real. It's crazy. Imagine if you make something up and everyone else thinks it's real. Like that gives you the power of God. You literally have given these people the power of God. They can make something up and you will treat it as if it was made by a higher power, as if it was as real as this table that I got this laptop on. That's fascinating to me. But again, lack of critical thinking skill. Black people are not trained to think critically at an early age. You are trained to reduce the level of your intellect to the point where you're living like an animal. You're not designed to think strategically. You're not designed to plan for the future. You're not designed to learn from your mistakes. You're designed to simply react to raw emotionality right in the moment without thinking about the implications of today's actions on your future. That's why we'll fill ourselves up with fried chicken and not educate ourselves, but then spend our lives sad because we got diabetes and we're not able to get good economic opportunities. I'm not saying this is true for everybody. I'm saying this is your training. They're training you to come in second, third, fourth place. They're not training you to lead because it wouldn't make any sense for them to do that. So bottom line, Eminem. Here's my final point on Eminem. Once again, I don't dislike the guy. I bought his first album. I remember hearing his first album and saying, wow, this guy's really good. Dr. Dre discovered a great artist. But I felt the same way when Dr. Dre discovered 50 Cent. If you remember back in the day when 50 Cent was a good artist. Now I don't know what he does exactly, but he's good. I'm sure he could still make a good song or something. Who else was Dre down with? Exhibit. I mean, some of y'all can go back to remember Exhibit. Exhibit was a great art. I mean, but so in my mind, if Exhibit, Eminem, and 50 Cent were all black, and you put them in the same room, I would say, wow, all three of these guys are amazing. But Eminem, and I'm sure he knows this, and Dre knows this. That's why Dre picked his ass. He knows that his whiteness is a privilege. It elevated him. It elevates him. So to deny that Eminem is a beneficiary of white privilege is to almost deny the existence of white privilege itself. But you talk about white privilege all the time. You talk about white supremacy all the time. So why would you somehow be able to understand the essence of white supremacy and somehow think it doesn't apply in the world of hip-hop and entertainment? It applies the most in the world of entertainment because white people own and control the media. They own and control all the wealth, the majority of the wealth in this country. Most of y'all on here watching right now work for a white person. Many of you do. So in fact, so you're not just a person who is impacted by white supremacy. You actually support white supremacy because you donate about 100,000 hours of labor throughout the course of your life to develop white supremacist companies, as opposed to doing what independent-minded people do and actually say, I'm gonna give that 100,000 hours of labor to myself and my family and to my community. You don't do that. Why? Well, because it's hard to do. It requires you to be able to think critically. It requires you to be able to think bravely and to break away from systems. That's scary. It's scary to jump off into the woods when you're on the freeway, right? Only the strongest can really do that. But it's okay. People like that are the ones who carve new paths. And I think eventually other people say, well, wait, there's another path. I'm going to take that path. That's why I get out here and I say the things other people won't say, because I want to give you the courage to simply be yourself. Remember, white supremacy is supported by all of us, not just some of us, all of us. So anyway, I'm about to go. But that's it. No hate on Eminem. Let's just make sure that's clear. No shade on Slim Shady. He's a great rapper, but is he overrated? You're goddamn right. If he was black, Eminem would have sold about half as many records, or maybe a third as many. He wouldn't, people wouldn't be flipping out over this Trump verse. They say, oh, that was a really good verse. It wouldn't have made headlines. White media thinks it's a big deal because he's a white rapper who went in on a white president. A black dude going off on Trump ain't no big deal to them. So the same verse could have came out of, shit, who's out there? I'm trying to think about other rappers, out of a T.I. or somebody, or even Kendrick Lamar, and people would have said that was an amazing verse, but it wouldn't have made all the headlines. And white media, white people who don't follow hip hop wouldn't be talking about it. They'd be like, oh, another nigga who hates Trump. Big motherfucking deal. That's my 2 cents. I hope that you understand it in the balance that I've laid it out. It's not me trying to say Eminem sucks. I'm not saying that. It's me just saying that, yeah, he is overrated. And I bet you Eminem would agree with me too. So I'm about to go. Don't forget, I'm in London for the next couple of days. If you want to come out, go to drboycelondon.com, drboycelondon.com. If you want to see the live stream of London, you can go to abncdigital.com, abncdigital.com. That's the All Black National Convention study group, where we take all the ideas of building a nation, building a community, and we work together to implement these ideas. So feel free to join that. The first 30 days in the study group are free. After that, there is a small contribution that's being asked for you to make, because we're trying to build. In order to build, you need to raise money. So we give you knowledge, you help support us, everybody's happy, and that's it. So we just ask, like, whatever money you're spending with white folks, if you add up all the money you spend with white folks every week, which is probably in the hundreds, some of you in the thousands, just take a tiny piece of that and just pull it off. And if you could drop it in there and take a class from us or whatever, we will not only educate you at the highest levels in the Black Business School, but we will also give you results. We will show you outcomes from your investment. I guarantee it. So last but not least, if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. You can get the book absolutely free. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.